Hi, my name is Neely Hallerman, and today I'm going to be presenting graphic displays as an alternate way to help children with autism communicate. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a PowerPoint presentation to help me display my knowledge of graphic displays and how they help our students and clients. So graphic displays are helpful to children who may be more visual learners. They really can be helpful for all children, not just children with a diagnosis of autism, but we do know that many children with autism are more visual, and they oftentimes have a hard time communicating, whether they're verbal or nonverbal, or just have a hard time expressing or initiating conversation, demanding for items, which is requesting items, as well as making sense of the world around them that's communicated to them. So for example, you might have a child that really benefits from using graphic symbols to teach them how to brush their teeth or do basic things as instructions. Also, they're really helpful for schedules and transitioning. I use them many times with students when we want to help them to know first you need to do this and then you'll get a break, and we'll have pictures for that. I'm going to show you that in a moment. So they're really easy to interpret. I would say some cons to them is they can be more cumbersome than graphic systems that you might have on an iPad or an iPhone. It can be tricky if you have a child that uses them for them to find the specific graphic when they're trying to communicate something, if they have them in a binder or somewhere else. But again, they are really good for many young learners and even typically developing children. I also will discuss a little later on a study where they use graphic displays to help children with reading comprehension. I've used that in schools as well. This is one graphic display that I'm doing right now with a client of mine. He has a really hard time at the dinner table talking to his family about things that he did today. He kind of just forgets. And actually his sister tends to dominate the conversation. So we did this one so when we're sitting down to lunch, we can have him we can have a conversation and he can look at these pictures to help spark some conversation and just aid with that. Other ways that graphic displays have been used and that I use is just understanding your daily schedule. So a student might have something like this on each little piece is on Velcro, and then we can arrange their daily schedule as it's going to look that day, and we can be flexible and change things around because we do want to alternate schedules sometimes for children with autism. And actually last year I used this with these little magnets on a magnet board for one of my students, and she really liked that way of carrying her schedule around. Here's another example of a graphic display, and you might have this on a piece of paper that's laminated, and you can use a dry erase marker, and they can check off their tasks as they go throughout the day. This gives a child an ability to understand what's coming ahead of them. A lot of children, when they don't know what's next, they feel anxiety, and that causes longer transition times as well as just some maladaptive behaviors. So if a child can see that first we're going to clean up and then we're going to have table work, it just gives them a little more grounding and it helps them get through the day. This is another graphic display that I've used with clients, and you will see these all over classrooms, young learner classrooms, as well as in people's homes that have children with autism or developmental disabilities. They'll tape this up on the mirror in the bathroom, and that way when the child goes to brush his teeth, the tasks are right there in front of him. They're visual. He doesn't need to know how to read, and he can go through each step. Here's one that I use with clients right now as we're doing first thens. First, we're going to play with trains. Then we'll do a game. First, we'll have calendar time at school, and then we'll get a break. So this is really helpful. I'll put them on little small laminated cards, and there'll be Velcro on them, and we just tear off what's first, what's next, and put it back on the Velcro. And here's another one that I used at a school last year that, again, it's amazing the kids that they come in the room, they tear off what's next, put it in the all done bucket, and they go about their tasks. And this just seems to really help them know what's expected of them and what's coming up next. This is another type of graphic display. Last semester, I actually did a paper on this and created a reading comprehension program for children. We know that a lot of children with autism have a very difficult time with reading comprehension, especially as the work increases and gets harder and more complex. And in 2013, Zakas, Browder, Algum Dazel, and Hefner did a study with 3 children with autism that were in junior high. And they used something similar to this. It was a little more complex because it was a harder material, but to teach children how to make more meaning out of their social studies lessons and their reading passages. And they were able to teach through a system like this, these kids how to answer their comprehension questions correctly. And it actually did generalize to passages that they were not trained in. So they are finding that using graphic display to help children make sense of what they're reading and what they're learning in school through these visual graphics is super helpful. This is one I made for that paper. I was creating a study where we would test children's reading comprehension using the A to Z reading program. And I also, just to note, have a lot of luck using Boardmaker, which is a online subscription program that you can use to make these comprehension pages. They're super easy. You enter the words, they come up with a picture for you, and these kids learn to recognize these symbols that you can see where it says, who is the story about? So it's a great and useful way to help children learn, help us communicate what they're doing, as well as allowing them to communicate to us. So they can use their symbols to communicate to us what their wants, their needs are. They can mand with them. And we can also use them in academic situations such as reading comprehension. So that's a little bit about graphic displays. Hope you enjoyed the video.